What's going on, guys? My name is Theoatrix, and today I'm introducing a brand new series to my channel called Runescape Economics. Basically, in this series, I'll be teaching you guys how the economy works in RuneScape, along with some detail of the market forces. This episode 1, I'll teach the basic principles of the economy, and hopefully you can get some ideas of how to make money from the economy. You can predict a lot of the changes in the RuneScape economy, especially the old school one. Well, I don't play RuneScape 3, so I'm not actually sure about the items, but I do know that the concepts and the economics I'm going to teach is very similar in both games. Now, to start things off, we're going to discuss the items and the market forces around them. The price of an item in RuneScape and in the real world is dependent on two key forces, supply and demand. There are graphs I could use to demonstrate these, but I want to keep it as simple as I can. Basically, if I have a certain supply and a certain demand for a product, the price is going to be set at an optimal price. But suddenly, if the demand of the product increases, the supply is staying the same and the price is then going to go up because more people want the product, but the same amount is being sold. If the demand stayed the same and the supply went up, the price would go down. This is because the same number of people want the item, but now there's a whole lot more of these items. Next, I'm going to relate these two market forces to certain key events in the game. First up, when a new item is released in the game, which players need to obtain from a boss or a mini game or something, players usually need to create the supply. Therefore, the supply of an item when it is introduced into the game is very, very low and increases over time. This means that the price of the item will start off really high and decrease to a reasonable level. Basically, the best thing you can do is to wait until the price stabilizes if you want to buy the item, or if you want to make some money, go test your luck at the boss or the mini game to try get the item as soon as it's released. I've seen heaps of people selling newly released items for millions of dollars in the Grand Exchange, millions of GP, sorry. So this is obviously a really good way to make a high amount of money in a short amount of time, but obviously this only can be done when new updates come out, which is about once a month for new items. Now, that's an example of how the supply increases in the game, and therefore the price decreases. But what about an example of where the price increases over time? Occasionally, the RuneScape development team will decide that an item is underpowered or could go with some extra features. Usually when these updates are released, the price of an item rises a lot. A great example of this is when the Ring of Suffering was released into old school RuneScape. Basically, you can put 2,500 rings of recoil into the Ring of Suffering for a prolonged recoil effect. But if you think in terms of economics, the demand for the rings of recoil would have exploded when the Ring of Suffering was released. Here's a graph that I found on the RuneScape Grand Exchange site. As you can see, when the Ring of Suffering was released in August of 2016, the price surged really high for almost a whole month until it gradually came back down after the flipping demand had died down. What I mean by this is that when an item is updated or buffed, the price surges because people see the opportunity to make some money. As the price keeps rising, players think it's just going to keep rising, but eventually once the players who bought the item early have made their profit, they'll dump their rings of recoil for their profit into the Grand Exchange, and therefore the supply shoots up really high and then the price will go back down. Another thing that could explain the decrease in price is the bots. Once the price of the rings of recoil shot up, botters might have seen the opportunity to make some money and therefore produced a lot of rings of recoil. This in turn boosts the supply over time and lowers the price. Botters affect all the prices on the Grand Exchange and are responsible for many price decreases and low prices. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of RuneScape Economics, and I hope you learnt something useful. There is so much to learn of how economics works in terms of RuneScape, and if you want to stay up to date with those kind of videos, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.